Welcome to the Real Situation Podcast with Jason Campbell. Today, our guest, this is someone I've been looking forward to speaking to. Every guest that has come on this podcast, I've been looking forward to speaking to. There's a reason why he or she is here. And Charisse is here as our final guest for this season, our inaugural season here for this podcast. And I am thrilled to have her on because as we were having a little pre-conversation, she pops up on my screen, my Instagram screen. Her soothing voice is instantly commanding and authoritative, and I feel like there is going to be something important and layered that will be delivered in whatever she's going to say. That's what she has done to me since I've been, and I don't know how long now since I've been following you, but it's been at least a couple of years, let's say. And let's give a little background as I have looked into your background online, Charisse. Charisse Kenion is a UK-based journalist, photographer, and cultural commentator whose work examines the people and the ideas shaping fashion, beauty, and entertainment. Her 15-year career spans newspapers, consumer publishing, and beauty journalism. As the host of the Charisse Report and Beauty and Me podcast, Kenyon brings intelligence, curiosity, and a sharp editorial lens to conversations on beauty, identity, influence, and the cultural forces that shape how we see ourselves. And that's one of those things that I also love. I'm never really sure how you're going to tackle a subject, how sociological you're going to get about it, how psychological you're going to get about it, and or how deeply fashion you're going to interrogate it. So I'm always inspired when I see you pop on the screen, Cherie. So thank you for being with us here today on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. You make me sound kind of cool.
Well, you are kind of cool because, and in many ways, I see myself in some of the contemporary pundits and commentators and writers that I see working in fashion right now. And to be perfectly honest, you guys represent the most exciting arena for me. And I also know that, the industry doesn't always credit, it doesn't look into always these areas where independent journalism, original thinking is not often given the credit that it deserves, particularly in the nascent stages of that development, regardless of how smart, how immediately important it feels. It doesn't always get that attention. And for me, my curiosity has always leaned in the areas that again are smart, but just never always get properly interrogated and never properly credited. And that's what I kind of want to do. One of my charges in doing this podcast, Charisse, and you certainly is in that bucket. You're certainly in that bucket. I just love how you approach. I love the stories that you tell, and I want to find out from you your process, what's important to you, and how you go about this, all of this storytelling.
Cool. Where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start with like how distinct your voice, as I said, not just the cadence in your voice, but the subjects that you cover, how distinct, the curiosity that you exhibit, you're culturally attuned, and you're kind of rarely satisfied with those obvious headlines. Whatever you cover is, I feel, unexpected. Now, what motivated the kind of coverage? Was it from the beginning? Did you have an idea of certain things that were not given their due attention and you wanted to cover them? Was that what motivated your online journalistic presence?
Well, to keep it very real with you, what motivated my online journalistic presence is the changing face of journalism. I have been a journalist for over 15 years. Like I did start on newspapers and in magazines. I did go and cover fashion weeks and, Paris, Milan, etc. Was responsible for a style desk, but things have changed so much. So I started a podcast about 6 years ago because people would say to me, when you get to interview Dolce and Gabbana or whoever it is, you get a certain amount of time with them and you get a certain amount of words. And, the newspaper is not going to make any extra room. It doesn't actually matter who it is because everything is about getting on the page. So you always have there's always more to a story, always. And you'll know that from being in fashion. There's always more to a story. Um, so a podcast felt like a place to kind of extend the conversation. And then about 3 years ago, the pressure started building about you need to do video, you need to do video. And me being a writer and a photographer, I am not interested in putting this face on camera. Like, no way, no way. And I will let people know today the only reason that you see my face on camera is because I have an editor. From day one, I've had an editor. If I had to edit my own stuff, I don't think I'd be there. I don't think you would see me on social media. And I think people need to be real about that because it's no shade to anyone that just sits in front of their phone and turns it on and says, love this, hate this. You know, they do what they do and they get the views. They get the views. They get the crazy views for an instant. I do not do that. I never want to do what everybody else is doing. It's like every day, and it's really sweet. People send me suggestions to be like, please, please talk about that Zendaya shoot that Essence did in 2020, because for some reason it's had this resurgence the past couple of days. Everyone's been sharing this Zendaya shoot from Essence that's in tribute to Donyal Luna, the first Black supermodel, the most beautiful woman ever. And I said, thank you so much. But seeing as everybody else is talking about it, I won't because I don't like being influenced by what everybody else is saying. And I am quite selfish. I talk about what I want to talk about. I really do. I do not think, oh, that's a hot topic right now.
Mhm.
Apart from, okay, so Wimbledon happened, and I noticed that there was this Filipina tennis player that I hadn't heard of before. And I looked into her, Alex Ayala, and I was like, wow, I'm going to talk about this girl because she's been in Vogue Singapore, which is one of my favorite favorite international Vogues. And that video went crazy, but I didn't make the video because I thought it would go crazy. I made the video because I was like, I haven't lost my own curiosity. Like, I think whenever you've lost curiosity, you're done. And I know that is something you'll have seen in the fashion industry too, because there are a lot of
Yes.
Jason people in the fashion industry. There are a lot of
Yes.
miserable people in the fashion industry. They really are that are just hanging on to their roles because they have bills to be paid,
Yes. Well,
not
and
because
and,
they
and I,
love
I want to pause you on that for 1 second, and I won't derail what you're saying here, but that is such an important theme, and I've tried to bring it up in this podcast. There are a lot of people like cosplaying happiness in this industry, and it's not spoken about enough. Let me
it.
pause that. Carry on, Charisse.
Yeah,
It's
so
huge. It's a huge theme.
it is. And I mean, we could go on further how they don't allow for opportunities for others because they're just going to hang on to certain roles until they can't do it anymore. But that's beside the point. My point was I really do what I want because I am totally curious. I am still nosy. I am still wanting to be in those rooms. I still want to go to that Dior Reese so I can see those things that Jonathan Anderson made. I still have that. So I think that's why no one could ever guess what video I'm going to do next because your brain could be here and my brain could be there. And I wish people would actually value their own brains more because we're talking about AI and how easy it is to get AI to write a script or ChatGPT. And I genuinely believe that every single human being has a creative thread in their body. They just probably haven't discovered it yet. And for me, there is I need to start having a list of ideas because there are literally a million ideas out there. There's no new ideas, but the way that you approach something can only be done by you.
But within that curiosity, what is that personal barometer that determines what you actually land on and what gets that editorial interrogation?
I think it has to be a mix of beauty, but a little quirk. Um,
Uh,
someone that I someone that I love, love, love. She is a makeup artist that's worked in film makeup for decades, older lady. And she was like, no, no, look for the difference. Look for the difference. Always look for the difference. And even because I used to say to her, when I was even getting started in video, I was like, yeah, but I don't look like anybody else. Everyone's younger or skinnier or whatever. And she's like, no, look for the difference. Focus on the difference. Don't focus on fitting in. Focus on the difference. And I think that's what I have when it comes to me making a decision about something that I want to do. It's like, okay, Orbe is doing a hair campaign. They're using bodybuilders. I'm intrigued. They could have just used some supermodels and that would be beautiful. But I need a little tweak. It's like I've been toying with the idea of making a video about the Tiana Taylor for a liar, but they're too beautiful in a way. I need, I always need a little something. Oh, or it could be a fact that I learned. Like if somebody tells me how that Tiana shoot went and they said, "Do you know that it happened in, you know, minus minus something degrees and it was icy?" I need a there's always a thread. And I think sometimes if you take time, because I saw some people make videos within 30 minutes of that Tayana shoot coming out. I saw the videos on Instagram. Oh my God. You know, people gushing. And I'm like, no, okay, is there a thread in there that I can work with that I can pull out?
But Charisse, and you're speaking about that thread, and where a thread is a very is a very fine line that goes through things, and I want to sort of zero in and put the microscope on that fine line because that's how I see your coverage. You're leaning into all of these details, as a journalist does. I know oftentimes like the younger audience they forget about the rigor of journalism. But what captures me is how that interest to the smallest detail still persists after so many years of working in this industry. And I haven't gotten into the peaks and valleys. I know there are always peaks and valleys. There's career switches and all and so forth. But what keeps the interest in all of those kind of details, that ultimately results in these interesting layered stories that you tell?
What else would I be doing? I couldn't tell you. I love seeking beauty. I think that's why Alexander McQueen will always, always, always. I know people make tons of videos about him, but I think for me, he is the quintessential inspiration because there's so much beauty, but there's always a detail and there's always a quirk. It was never about being for everyone. And I really respect that. So, but as to tell you how it still persists, it's my brain. It's like I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. Because like I said, I've been a journalist for a long time. I've been a photographer for a long time. And even when I mostly do portraits, and I've kind of put it on in sleep mode since really going for this content thing. So I was like, okay, there's something here because people are approaching me. But I think they're like, whoa, she's a journalist. She's not a commentator. And I think sometimes they find it hard to be like, oh, how can we work together? And for me, I'm just like, because I'm a storyteller, it's about the story. And I feel like even, whether a brand's been around for 150 years or a year, there's a reason that it started. And I like to get to the heart of stories. So, but I honestly think it's the curiosity hasn't run out yet. It just hasn't.
And you're in the foreground. You're on the front lines, let's say. I think what I'm always when I raise this point, I think I'm speaking about, what is happening in the background, sort of juxtaposed against someone like yourself who gets on camera and speaks about these editorial issues. Sometimes I'm a bit too mired in all the stories that I know over the last 30 years of working in fashion. What's his name? Oh, and again, I don't want to derail this conversation, but Ramkin, what's his name? He just wrote that book. Is it David Ramkin? His name is slipping, but he's been a raconteur in fashion for the last 2 decades. He's the one that has stayed on their neck, has speak about the conglomeratization, the
Mm.
commercialization of the bastardization of fashion, and he has the book that has come out, and I wish I remember the title, and that's something that I wanted to interrogate. And in many ways, he speaks about when fashion started to go wrong, when it started to be co-opted and owned by these conglomerates, and then fashion became about money, and the creativity has been expunged. That, as you know, has impacted a wide swath of the professionals that has worked in this business over the last 20 years, Charisse. And so I'm always doing a temperature check with those who've been around long enough to know from whence we came to whence we are. I love when, Camilla Stark, who I recently had in the podcast, she kept such positivity in spite of all that, her business and her career has gone through. She kept such a positivity. And you mentioned being jaded, about so many people being jaded in this industry. It's a huge reality, a huge reality. So someone like yourself, at least I don't see that in your content. I
If
see a
there, I wouldn't be
very
doing
up,
it.
huh?
If there was any hint of being jaded there, I wouldn't be doing it, honestly. There's just no point in being fake online. It's like being fake in your own life, that's bad enough. But making something fake to go online, come on. Nobody needs to see you.
That's a
They don't.
statement.
They don't. Nobody needs to see me. And that's why I don't make negative videos. It's not because I am a toxic positivity person. I just don't want to put my energy there. It's like you mentioned Camille. She will have had shitty times. And she can either stay there and think that nobody helps, or nobody helped when this happened, or this was tough. Or she can think, I did that. What keeps me ticking now? What's happening now? And I just think I would never, if I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't be doing it. My husband will tell you that for if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. And I certainly wouldn't put makeup on and set my lights up and make a script. Because you know what? I can literally see that in other people's eyes. There are people that could be like, you are making this video because you feel you have to. And I think you could be burnt out. And I think you might need a holiday. And I think you might need to go and like see nature or read some books and you will get your spark back again. Because right now I can see that it's not there. And
Well,
that's
speaking to that, and it seems like you don't necessarily respond to this, but I would like to hear from you, in terms of the speed, for example, and the immediacy that the medium often calls for. That viral moment, that quick take, that response. That's not necessarily something that motivates the coverage either. Tell me how you sort of like leave those moments behind or don't find them integral to what you do.
all I have to know is if I go on and I see five guys making the same video that's less than a minute long, nobody needs my take. But what I will do is if there's something that it doesn't mean if there's something I really want to make a video about, it doesn't matter if 20 people made the same video because I know I'm not going to make the same one. So what I'll do, I'll just do little things like find out a bit more about who's on the team. Do I know any of those people? Because that's an easy way to find out something a little bit special, get a little thread. I'm working on a big YouTube deep dive right now on the Dior cruise show, Jonathan Anderson's first cruise show for Dior. And I didn't get interviews with hair and makeup, but I spoke to the nail artist and I'm like, cool. She's told me what she told me about the nails, links to one of the accessories, and there's my thread. Do you know what I mean? So there's always I will try and find my in. It's really easy to do hot takes. And I don't begrudge those people because people that do hot takes, they must get fixed on those million views.
Mm.
And I think it can become addictive. And they could also think, whoa, that video did crap. What does that say? Do you know what I mean? So
Of course.
I would not. One thing I learn more and more these days is that everybody is human. And I think people forget that. They really do. It's very easy to be snarky and shady and bitchy and mean online because it feels very throwaway. But I do even try, I might poke fun at like, the boys that churn out the quick videos, but all of them are human beings and they've all found that that's what they want to do with their lives. So that's none of my business. My business is like, how can I be better? Like, my favorite journalist ever is Robin Gavin. She is the ultimate elegant, well read, most informed journalist, an actual critic, because I think that word has definitely been bastardized thanks to social media. It's been everyone's a critic now. Whereas
Oh
Robin
my.
Gavin, I would read her words and be like, make me better, make me better. And you mentioned time earlier. I think time has so much to do with things because I have been a journalist for a long time. And rather than be a journalist that sees how things are changing and dipping out, finding a totally different career or whatever, I've decided, no, let me stick with this because I love it. Let me move into this digital space. How can I be the best version of what I do in a 2-minute video? And that is quite challenging.
Well, and Charisse, I'm so glad you brought up Robin Givon because I actually she just came up in conversation recently, and it reminded me actually of a panel that I did for Business of Fashion about 6 years ago, right after or during the pandemic, and Robin was on that panel amongst a handful of other journalists, and from that time, the subject of that conversation was essentially the erosion of fashion criticism. I've been like sounding this alarm for such a long time. I've found the whole thing to be incredibly dangerous. And I dare say it's eroded more since that time. And a figure like Robin Givhan, I dare say Robin has not been given her proper flowers in her career. Her criticism is astute, is top notch. But someone I don't understand how someone's like Robin, not to say no disrespect to Robin, but her career, at least the sort of ending part of her career, has sort of flattened out. Meanwhile, a
Well, that's the
woman,
Washington Post's fault.
huh? Huh?
Isn't that the fault of the Washington Post being bought by somebody?
Oh, well, 100. Well, that's what I mean. 100%. Look at how I mean, she's the only Pulitzer Prize winning fashion journalist that there has been, and she's just sort of just been not, let's say, sidelined. Certainly not given the respect for the contribution that she has given over the last 3 decades in this industry. Those are the kind of things that sort of, and I'm not this super nostalgic guy but however,
No, the facts are the facts. She's bloody good and
okay,
layered, and she can. That I aspire to be more like her because I mentioned threads. Lauren, Robin can thread a story along because she doesn't even need all the words in the world, but she can sew things together because of the things that she's seen and experienced. And I think that's what doesn't come with a hot take. If you're getting a hot take from a 28-year-old that's only ever known of this size of a life, they're not going to be able to say, well, that actually is linked to the 1800s. they're not gonna have that yet. You know, Robin is
But
able to weave things together. Or they could go and do some research. I would say that.
but
But
we
if
know
they want to
how,
get the hot take out, they're not going to spend time researching. The hot take must be given. You know,
exactly and
must be
quickly.
served. And then it gets eaten real quick, and then it's on to the next. Um,
Exactly. But I have to apply the same, Robin treatment on you in that you have crossed different disciplines, journalism, photography, podcasting, videoing, and all the things. Do you feel that that has in part a certain elevated confidence to you in how you approach the coverage that your coverage as well, because you have done so many different professions within the fashion purview.
yeah, I feel like they're so linked. So I just think I am delving deeper into who I am, and I think ultimately it's going to be documentary. That's because everything is getting bigger. It's like newspaper, magazine, podcast, 2 minute video, hour-long YouTube, 2 hour-long documentary. Who knows? I feel like it's still always going to be the story. I am talking to somebody about making a documentary, but it's very, very, very early stages. You need funding for that. And to be honest, between today and a documentary, I really, really just want to get more into long form, working with brands potentially in a different capacity, like getting to know them. Like I want to know you inside out so that I can help you tell people about you because I think things have become very murky. I think brands are feeling very pressured to show every aspect of behind the scenes. Like, and that's not what they're really there to do. You know,
That's a key
brands are content
observation.
creators now. Like, it's it's very busy. Everything is very busy, you know.
And there's a lot of and everything is content. Everything is slice and dice. As you said, BTS has become like a requisite for brands, even super huge brands to deliver like BTS content. Every little micro detail about a process needs to be somehow broadcasted, and you're challenging that. And I could totally understand that. I could totally understand that. Now, but is it super important to you? You said before, and I noted that you're not here for, mega criticism or to to come at brands like that. But if you're not there to come at brands like that, do you still feel that an independent voice, having a singular perspective, is still important, and that you want to always be on the outside of the industry, or in the periphery, let's say, than in the mainframe, because it allows you a freedom and a voice that you wouldn't have if your voice was co-opted by publication?
Well, that's exactly if I was working for a publication, my job would be to go and watch every show. So then you would get the truth.
Oh,
But when it's my
wait,
platform,
clarify that. Clarify that for
you
me.
would get the truth if I thought something wasn't up to par, what the designer had done in the past, if I thought something felt odd, out of context, if I had I don't like using the word negative because it's all subjective. I can go and see a show, you can go and see a show. You might love the fact that they styled it with clogs, and I might hate clogs. But so if I'm working for a big title, that is my job to interpret the shows for them. I would do my best to give my truth. Whereas as I work for myself, I can write about what I want. And if I'm motivated to make a video, I'm not going to make a video saying, oh, I hate these clogs because I've got better things to do with my time. I'd rather be like, I love what they did at this show because there's a story behind that. Let me tell you about that. So having a job is totally different to being independent. I get to choose what I want. If I get a job with the Financial Times tomorrow and it's my job to go and see every single show, then if within a show there's something that I thought made no sense, I won't say looked ugly because again, I think that's subjective, but I'm not gonna lie to you and give you positives. Is that if that's what you're trying to ascertain? No, I'm not gonna lie and
Well, but are we?
and sugarcoat something.
But is the, I mean, I maybe the larger question is that is the industry even set up that way any longer, except for a very, very few that you could count on one hand, except for very few who's able to actually operate with some level of honesty,
Mhm.
some level of real critique when they are allowed to go to these shows. Like these shows are no longer, people. I can't say that I love how fashion is being transformed, but I love how people are calling it for what it is. I think I wrote an editorial, I don't know, more than like 10 years ago about how fashion has become entertainment. And now we're squarely in the entertainment era of fashion. It doesn't, when someone's like, well, why does it need the criticism? Well, in a lot of people's eyes, it doesn't need that criticism because it's moved into another arena. It's there for influencers to populate front rows and for pictures to be taken and for those to be broadcasted and then just for celebration to happen around the whole thing. It's not a critical landscape any longer. And maybe that's not a bad thing.
I don't know, but where does that end? Just everything being all, oh, amazing. Like I got to go here and I don't know. I feel like I like people like Bliss Foster who will go to Fashion Week, but he won't post anything for weeks or maybe a month because he's working on what he got because he's gone backstage and he's spoken to a designer and not just the big designers, there'll be smaller designers. And I feel like in an ideal world, if you are a critic, you would be able to see every angle because then you get a better view. Like, how can I possibly critique someone's show if I don't know the thinking behind it? And I don't just mean the press release that their team wrote. I mean, when did it start and what were they looking at and how did that first piece come together? I feel that the process is just as much a part of the product. And I feel that a lot of brands, I get it, they have the show and they try and put all these cool things in it and they're going to get critiqued either way very quickly. It's like, again, I brought his name up already today, but I feel like Jonathan Anderson first round at Dior was like a perfect example because the instant criticism, instant negativity. And I was just like, one, again, there's a human being in there. And two, can we find out what the motivation was for this? And it's his first one. Like there's lots of little cogs that go together, that make something. So I feel consideration and curiosity would be really useful. And
And
I can, and even if it was my job, I would have that in my head, consideration for the process and curiosity. And hopefully a brand if that's my job and a brand is lacking in one of those areas, like if I see that even their approach isn't considered, then that would give me then I'd be concerned. And I would have to put that in my critique. But right now, no one's got me on the payroll, so I can do what I like right now.
I want to find it about the written word. I was looking through your Substack, and it's interesting how Substack is finding this new energy to legacy writers. It's a space where your true voice can come through, and it's quite flexible. You could take real ownership of your voice. Tell me what your feeling is on the written word right now, especially juxtaposed against we haven't mentioned this yet. Against the very dynamic visuals that is an important part of your storytelling. You said that you had an editor from the beginning, and I think that was a very smart decision in that I love how your story unfolds through the visual as well. But where does the written word sit in the equation right now?
I miss the written word because I really love reading. Um, and I feel that things have changed a lot because I'll notice, like you've got the Vogues and Elle's and Harper's, and I feel that they face their own struggles. I never believed that print was dead, but absolutely it needed a shake up and people got lazy and they just got hooked on the advertising money. But there was a time when I could pick up an American Vogue and I would read, read, read. I would just love what I was learning. This was a very long time ago. I just give them as an example because they're kind of held up put on a pedestal, and I don't get that because there are so many other magazines we could be reading. There's so much choice these days, but I feel there's a real, I don't know, because I don't want to criticize any specific titles. I just feel that you can have a great cover, right? And you can have some cool editorials, but I don't read as much as I used to because I remember I could get a copy of American Vogue and I could just sit on my couch and just read, read, read. And also the wealth of editorials, like what was in there. I mean, stunning. It would felt like it's so corny, but there's that scene in Sex and the City, Carrie, she's like, Vogue fed me or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's along those lines, it's corny, but look, you could spend hours reading. And I know now we have phones and it's just not the same. And maybe that's why, because I feel like so many magazines now, they're kind of churning out. Well, I mean, so many of them are using AI. That's an issue in itself. I feel for anyone that wants to be a writer now, it's like it's tough. It's really tough because you have to be very self-motivated now, and there's no guarantee you're going to get anything. I didn't even study journalism. Like I have people in my DMs asking me for advice, and I'm like, you know what my story is in a nutshell? I studied media and I hated it because when I studied media, you had to study every aspect of it. So you had to study even sports journalism. I don't want to do sports journalism. So I quit after a year. And I remember it so clearly because I was actually in New York on my summer holiday and my dad was like, just don't come back. I actually got in trouble actually because I stayed 91 days instead of 90 and it's haunted me ever since. I get such grief from TSA. But he was like, because my background was always art. I was always art and English. So I always did really well at art and English and photography. But I chose a media degree because God, I can't even remember now. I think I did want to write about fashion. But like I said, I hated it. And so when I came back after that summer, I switched to a fine art and photography degree. And I love that because the it's kind of what I do now. I got to research so much. I was a geek, okay? So I was like,
Mm.
I'm gonna make this piece. I did a piece on Josephine Baker and I just read, looked at all of her stuff and read as much about her as I could. And then I got to produce this piece. And I think, if anything, that's what helped me become who I am now because I did a fine art and photography degree and I still became a journalist. I didn't learn the specific skills. I actually didn't learn shorthand. That's what you would have learned back in the day to make your
Right.
notes.
Yes.
Nobody does that anymore. Um, but I just feel writing, I love to read and I like to write and I want to be a better writer because I'm not saying I'm the best writer at all. My Substack is my place to be like I feel like I'll say what I want when I want and you'll probably find typos in it, I'm sure.
Now,
Yeah.
where are you seeing the innovation? Because one of the things also I noticed in your observations is that you're current in a way that I that used to be my job description. I used to have to know every designer, every movement, every makeup artist, and so forth. I don't know every single one now. You seem to very, very, very much stay current. Now, where are you seeing the innovation? Because in many ways, this business is very much about that. There's a lot newness is where the lens turn. Is there anything that's capturing your attention in that respect?
Gosh.
I mean, it could be in design, image making, costing, retail, technology. There are many areas that innovation can be seen in. And I know that you're culturally fluent.
I feel like we could be on the cusp of some innovation because we need it.
Okay.
I feel things have become very, I think I use the word noisy or busy. Things are really noisy right now. There's a lot of people making noise about stuff. And like the recent American Vogue cover, they said it looked like a JCPenney back to school cover. It's like that to me is the epitome of where we are. Um, People used to look to magazines or fashion industry in general, to be honest, for innovation. Because
Of
like you said,
course.
fashion has kind of taken over everything. But what people were using fashion to sell things, right? So you make adverts for it went from advertising a handbag to it could be an advert for a kettle, but somehow it was beautiful. And like the people in the advert could be wearing designer clothes.
Of
So
course.
fashion was used as a vehicle. But now fashion is struggling and it is pimping itself out to every arena. So now it's fashion and film, fashion and sports, fashion and music. Fashion is like
Fashion
at the
and food. The fashion and
yes,
food movement is crazy.
yeah. And it's like it's becoming diluted because I'm not about saying fashion is this and it's up here and it's not for everybody. Not at all. Because I pride myself on I am not here for fashion industry people. I'm here for people that love fashion or have an interest in it and they want to know more. Or I'll get DMs from someone that's like, they'll be like, I live in Texas, I'm a school teacher, and what you share keeps my love of fashion alive. Do you know what I mean? That's
Yes.
the people I'm there for.
And I
Or
believe that.
yeah. Or I've had a lady tell me she's going blind and she loves how I describe stuff. So I try and think of her when I do stuff. It's not for the fashion people. A lot of fashion people follow me, a
I
lot,
love that.
but I'm not for them. And what was the initial point? Yeah, I just feel like we've reached a time where fashion is trying to be besties with everything because it's been struggling and it made the prices so high and it doesn't know what to do. How do we, come back from that? We got to be everybody's friends. And I'm like, everybody used to look to you guys. Everybody used
For
to look to you
for
to
for for
inspire
for
them.
direction.
Film
And
industry used to look to fashion, be like, what, how can we look better? And now fashion is looking to the film industry. How can we be seen more?
well, again, I'm not gonna beat this horse, but like the greediness of fashion over the last 10 to 20 years has really it's now in its crisis era because of greed. We saw it happen. Oh, the guy that I'm speaking about is Eugene Rabkin. Oh my God, I think I still bastardize it, but Eugene, you'll know that name and look into him. People know who he is. He's
Wilbekin.
huh?
Are you on about Emil Wilbekin?
No, not Emil, not
Okay.
Emil. Eugene Rabikin or something like this. I'm gonna clean it up. We'll put it in the show notes. But has been a fashion raconteur, a journalist for the
Oh, the
last
Torn book. Yes, Torn. Fashion and
exact.
postmodernism. I need to get that.
Exactement. I'm very interested in reading that book. I don't.
Yes.
I'm really going to order that book because he has always had a very honest perspective, one of the few actually that's been fearless, that has always had an honest perspective on this industry. So, and he was there, he lived that era, and so I want to see what his treatment is on that era, and very much what happened, because in many ways that was the break, that was the chasm. The chasm in fashion really was created very much in that period. So I want to still interrogate that. Now, representation. This conversation about who gets to participate, who gets to be involved, and so forth. That has kind of gone along the wayside. But meaningful representation, does that what is that for you? What is that for you? And is that still a storyline in this fashion conversation?
I mean, you tell me as a black man, right? Because representation, it's like you used to see it come and go. You see it, it comes and goes. It's like waving in the breeze. What does it mean to me? I mean, I noticed somebody did a great video. I think it was Aston M. He's one of my favorite creators. And he said, if you're not in the advert, they don't want you. And so that's that.
Ooh,
If you're not in
ooh.
the advert, if you're not in the marketing, they don't want you. And I'm like, he is so right. And whether it was intentional on the person doing the casting or not,
Mm.
because it might just be that they picked these four white women that they think are stunning and they just forgot. I don't know, but I think it's very true. If you're not seeing the advertising, they don't care about you. What I am seeing is certain brands change things. I feel like Matthew Blasey is changing a lot at Chanel. He has made it feel like, I mean, the nail tech on that show, Amakoshi, I had her on my show, and she said, Matthew is saying every woman is a Chanel woman. And that has never been said before. It hasn't.
No, no, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. It's power. Yes, that's a powerful statement. That's a powerful statement. If it's in fact meaning, if he in fact means it, is a powerful statement. Speaking maybe along the racial lines, Charisse, like I feel that we don't have a community. We operate in a silo. And let's speak about Black people. We're Black people. We know industry. We know how to work. We know how to put in. We've been taught how to put in the hours, how to grind. However, we have not been really taught how to ally. At times, yes, the talking points are easy, but and at times there'll be a little coalescing, but for the most part, no. There's such disunity in this industry amongst let's say Black people. I see how Black people turn up to the Met Ball. I see how they turn up to particular fashion shows and populate it, and are just giddy participants who really oftentimes undermine the real workers and the real professional in this business, because celebrities are front row and it seems like everything is honky dory and is anything but. So that's my feeling. But however, there's so many of us who love fashion, who know this industry very well, who are contributors, and we just kind of stay in our lane. We talk to the peers that we have decent relationships with, and we are each other's counsel, and we keep it moving. And that's why, for someone like yourself who's been doing this and continues to love it, and it shows in the work, I am like, celebrate that, because this is you. This is your contribution. This is your world, and I see it and I appreciate it. But in terms of a collective, my love, there isn't one. Is
Tell
my
me what you mean
estimation.
about that. Do you mean within the Black community? Because I feel like there is there's often, and I feel like Black Americans definitely different to Black British. I see a lot of divide on social media between, but if we were to imagine that we're all part of one thing, um, I feel that there is there's always a responsibility that comes with being someone that's not white in this industry. Like you are meant to extend, or it would be nice if you did. And I have to say, in my position, I don't always see that. I'm just gonna That's my 2 cents from where I'm from, what I have seen. It is not always the way. And I don't know if it comes with that whole being jaded thing that we touched on earlier, but I have seen definitely certain Black women, Black men, they are not interested in um growing, helping.
At all. At all.
They seem like, yeah, I'm not even gonna hold that door open for you. I'm walking through it.
At all.
There's I don't, and I don't, part of me is like, yeah, just because you have the same skin color doesn't mean that you're meant to all being black is not a monolith. And I am mixed race, by the way. My dad is Black Jamaican. Um,
Oh, of course you're Jamaican. You know I'm Jamaican too, of course.
so one of the main reasons I said yes. But because that is community. Do you know what I mean? That's community. It's like it really is. You get a sense of belonging. But I feel, and you'll have to tell me what it's like in the States, but what I see is, yeah, nobody's really opening the door for you until, and I can't go into this too much right now, but I had a DM about a month ago from a big brand being personally invited on a trip with them. My first trip as an independent journalist. Very cool, very kind. And I was like, and this person happens to be a Black woman. And I was just like, because on the flip side of things, do you know who supports me more than anyone? Is Black women. So it's like, but
Excellent.
they're not the people in power. That's
They're
what
not
my thing is, yeah.
the people. Right.
Do you like I get a warmth in my heart, like the amount of Black women especially that love what I do. I think maybe because they see that I don't just talk about one skin tone, you know what I mean? When I see beauty, I see it everywhere. Um, but when there is a position of power involved, I do not think it is as supportive.
And on the PowerPoint, my statement is that black people have no power in this industry. They simply do not. And the ones that have the sort of little modicum of power, no, they're not using that inclusively. And sometimes you can't. I give grace because oftentimes it
What
is
life, so they
it's a survivalist mentality, and one doesn't want to blow up their life in order to be, to pull someone else up. I don't think people understand just how delicate and how sort of traumatic it can be just to exist in being a person of color in these kind of spaces. Charisse, I know you have to go, but I want to ask you one more question that maybe I want to get a better understanding of, like, is there one thing that you always kind of come back to that sort of underscores, the work that you do, something that you return to time and time again, whether you state it outright or not, but that informs your reporting and your coverage?
not being on my phone, not seeing what everybody else is talking about. If I have a weekend
Mm.
off, I will guaranteed come back with ideas. Guaranteed.
You're not looking around you for that inspiration. Your motivation and your influence is from your ideation,
Yeah, I don't
what
pick up my
sparks you.
phone if I'm looking. If I don't pick up my phone if I'm like I got to make 5 videos this week, I don't pick up my phone for that. I honestly don't. I could go to the park and I'll listen to a podcast like Lauren Sherman, the fashion people, um, Dissect podcast, or even the Run Through with Vogue. I can go and listen to a podcast and I can have 5 ideas. But it's never going to be picking up my phone. It's going to be not being on my phone so that, oh, I see I got a stack of magazines I haven't read yet, or, oh, I've got a new book. It's never going to be the phone. I think that's, you have to have time away from that. It's noise. It's just noise. It's just noise.
It is just noise, but I will make up my final point. I have to say though, Charisse, and you are a part of this. You're part of this group. I am just so and I come from a space where I was one of the first online publication, very much a voice in the way that you and your colleagues are currently. I didn't have the immediacy wasn't there. The platforms weren't as dynamic as they are now. But I have to say, the smartest content, the most digestible information right now that I see out there in fashion is coming from this very space. Is coming from this square that I look on every day, and you are definitely one of the stars in this arena. And I find it to be really informative. And for our attention, the limited attention span, let's say for the younger generation, I think this is the best kind of digest for this kind of content. And I think when they leave someone like you, when they after they digest your content, it inspires going even deeper. It inspires researching some of those names that they didn't know about, some of those movements they never heard about. I think that you guys are the current educators in this business, the journalists, the marketers, and the educators in this business at this current time. And I find it really exciting and compelling. And I dare say I have a bit of jade in myself as well. I haven't been consumed by it entirely, but
Mm.
this keeps me excited and this keeps me leaning in. So I thank you for that.
I'm glad to hear that. What, just before I go, but like, what is that bit of jadedness that you've got, do you think?
Girl, like myself, I come from the golden age of fashion. I come
Mm.
from the
Feel like
era
you've been
when,
ignored.
huh?
You feel like you've been overlooked.
No, no, it's not about no, no, no. It's not about overlooked. It's about what we've been left with, and what we the detritus, the detritus that we've been left with. That we're like, oh yes, it's the same thing,
I'll take that. Thank you. Mhm. Yeah,
and it deserves the same kind of interrogation and the same respect and the same value. It most certainly does not, and that's why I
mm,
sell vintage currently, because I feel like I'm one of the custodians of fashion history. And
mm,
yes, I
mm.
can break down like the real designs that came from fashion
Bet,
history. That part.
I bet. Well, maybe let people know more, Jason. Do you know what I mean? You know, I only built my following in the past year and a half. I had 3,000 followers, and my husband set me a challenge. He's like, get to 10, then he's like, get to 20, because he's my editor.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, he
That's
taught
amazing.
himself. He taught himself. But maybe think about sharing more then.
Well, yeah, well, actually, I have a book. I just wrote a book. And not this is not core fashion. This is not core. It's actually on corporate style. But yeah, Charisse, actually, one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast is for better or for worse. I've had a voice in this industry for 25 years, and while I have a hint of jade in me, my curiosity is still there. I still get excited about, as I said, someone like yourself, someone like Jay. I mean, I just think that the thinking and the analysis is so smart and is important, and it shares. It's similar to how I look at culture. And I say culture because I just don't look at fashion. I look at
Mm.
all like it's environ. I look at all that surrounds it, because it's all impacted, and I see that you guys do exactly the same thing, and it's really it's exciting for me. I think and not for me, as not just for me, but for a wide audience. Hence why you guys are having the traction that you are. But I also know the industry is not introspective enough to give you the real attention and the credit that you deserve for the work that you're doing.
Well, I think you should tell more stories.
And I will. I will. I'll continue to.
I mean, the dirt, but also, you know your vintage. Like maybe tell people about pieces, and because people do, no matter what, people do still want more information. I say it's
Charisse,
a lot of noise, but they really do. They really do.
Oh, and I can attest to that because can I tell you, like I sell a lot of vintage and I have really quite a following right now. And the audience, especially those younger people, younger girls particularly, they want to know the year, they want to know the backstory. Everyone wants a story. Is not You're absolutely right. They want a story behind these pieces. It's important. It's important. And people like ourselves with some experience, lived experience, we have some history.
Hey,
Yeah, we have an obligation as well.
I think you should call it piece by piece. Just do one piece per video.
Well, girl,
Do that for free.
that's your series. Trust me, I see
No,
your series.
my series is the look. Okay, yours can be called piece by piece.
Girl, I may have to take that. I appreciate you.
All right, I'm so sorry I have to go. It's my husband's birthday tomorrow, and I've got to make him a big ass cake and do loads of errands. So
Girl, Charisse, thank you. I really appreciate it. I mean, we definitely have more things to talk about. Thanks for taking the time and really for appearing on this podcast. We really appreciate this. Thank you.
I
Have a
will see
great
you
day.
in New York.
Indeed, indeed. Or no, Paris. I'm in Paris for Fashion Week if you're going to be there.
Yeah, it should be in October.
Okay, let's link up.
I would love that.
Excellent. Thank
All
you.
right, take care, Jason. Thank you for
Have
doing this so early.
I appreciate it.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.